Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Dyca TV with me, Keia.
And me, Adam. It's Friday, 7th of November 2014, coming up in today's show.
As we approach Remembrance Sunday this weekend, in a year where we are marking the centenary of the outbreak of World War I, we will be taking a look at this terrible conflict and how Dyca is making this important occasion.
We'll be finding out about Primary Day here at Dyca.
As Sikhs celebrate the birthday of Guru Nanak, we will be looking at the founder of Sikhism and how his birth is celebrated in his faith.
We'll be finding out about the anti-war movement and why some people believe that war should never be an option.
All this and more, stay tuned.
This block, the theme of remembrance, has been an important part of life here at Dyca.
This is because, as well as Remembrance Sunday, commemorating those who lost their life in World War I, 2014 marks 100 years since the outbreak of that conflict.
Let's take a look at why the remembrance of the Great War is so important even after 100 years.
World War I was said to be the war to end all wars. It was one of the deadliest conflicts in history, which involved all of the world's great powers. On one side, the Allied forces of France, the British Empire, Russia, Italy and the United States, and on the other, the Central Powers of Germany, Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire.
It was sparked on the 28th of July 1914 by the assassination of the Austrian Archduke Ferdinand, but some historians argue that happened because of the clashes over the access to oil in the Middle East.
The war lasted 4 years, and this year marks 100 years since the beginning of this tragic and important historic event.
The consequences of the war were devastating, with 1 million casualties in the first 10 months. It was one of the deadliest conflicts in history.
By the end of the war, there were over 16 million deaths and 20 million wounded as a result of the conflict, bringing in the total casualties to over 37 million.
The war took place in Europe, Africa, Asia and the Middle East.
On the Western Front, the war was characterised by trench warfare. The trenches were muddy and harsh, and the conditions meant disease spread rapidly.
Sadly, as we know, the horrendous conflict 100 years ago set the scene for a century of war, and the lasting effects, particularly in the Middle East, still continue to this day.
It is important we remember this war, the horrors it brought and the lives that we lost in it. Many of us will wear poppies and observe Remembrance Sunday on the 11th of November.
This is Liam
and Shannon
reporting for Dyca TV.
Each block forms across the 6 houses at Dyca compete for the House Cup by producing work on a particular topic.
This block's topic is remembrance, and each freshman and prep form has come up with their own ideas for displaying work on this theme.
We sent our reporters to find out about the amazing work being done in forms this block.
Hi, this is Hopper 1 Freshman and Prep. We have been doing poppies for Poppy Day on Friday, and with me is Lily, and she's going to tell you more about it. We are making poppies to represent what happened in the war and stick them on a board and put them on in the assembly, what we do on a Friday. And the block.
My name is Megan Bradley and I'm in Telford Freshman Prep 2, and today we're doing poppies for our assembly board for Remembrance Day.
My name is Cassady and today we're making poppies out of card to use for all school assembly.
Hello, my name is Adam Talmadou and I'm in Hopper and Freshman Prep 2, and today we're doing our Remembrance project.
So at the moment in Hopper and Freshman Prep 2 we have 4 students working on our project, and they're cutting out the paper to go on the shapes which is off on our board.
Been making poppies for Remembrance Day about World War I and II.
Hello, I'm Naya and this is Elise, and we're in Freshman Prep Da Vinci 1, and we've been making poppies for Remembrance Day.
We've also been learning about World War I and how been making posters about people.
Well done and good luck to all Fresher and Prep forms.
Now, Sikhism is a religion that originates from India and has around 30 million followers worldwide.
Sikhism was founded just over 500 years ago by Guru Nanak, whose birthday this year was commemorated yesterday with special celebrations. On behalf of all of us here at Dyca TV, we'd like to say Sat Sri Akal to our Sikh friends. We hope you have enjoyed the celebrations.
Now, earlier we looked at the horrors of the First World War, which was referred to at the time as the war to end all wars.
Sadly though, World War I did nothing to end war, and in fact even greater number of people were lost in World War II, which began 2 decades later.
And wars have continued to rage right up to this present day.
Some people think that war is necessary and impossible to avoid.
But others disagree, and there is a long tradition in this country of those who are anti-war.
We decided to find out about the anti-war movement and why some people believe that war is never the right solution.
What is it good for? Nothing.
War. What is it good for? So went the lyrics to a famous 1970 anti-war protest sung by Edwin Starr.
The 100 years since the start of World War I have seen a truly terrible number of wars around the world.
And as a reaction to this, the period has also seen a huge amount of activism and social movements by people who do not want war.
There are 2 types of activism around war. Anti-war movements are against particular wars or hostility around particular countries.
Pacifism is the opposition to all use of military force. The First World War was the first war where technology and machinery was used to create a mass destruction on a scale that had never been seen before. It also involved conscription, where people were forced to join the army to fight for their country. Many people in Britain were opposed to the war and some were imprisoned for their views.
The Second World War was seen by most people in Britain as a necessary defence against Nazi Germany. After the Second World War, America and Britain became enemies of the other winner, the USSR, Russian as we know it today. It was a clash of beliefs. The West believed in capitalism and the USSR believed in communism. This period of conflict was called the Cold War and saw an increasing threat of nuclear war by the 2 sides.
One of the effects of the Cold War were so-called proxy wars between the 2 superpowers, the USA and the USSR. Probably the worst example of this was Vietnam, where between 1955 and 1975, America fought a war to prevent a communist takeover of Vietnam. This war claimed the lives of around 3.5 million Southeast Asians and nearly 60,000 US soldiers. It was bitterly opposed by our growing anti-war peace movement in America and in Britain, which stayed out of the war.
Nearly 30 years later, British involvement in other series of wars woke up the anti-war movement. In March 2003, Britain and America invaded Iraq supposedly to disarm Saddam Hussein's government. Many Britons did not believe that this war was true reason for the war, and early that year, over 1 million British people marched into London to try to stop the war. Important figures spoke at giant rallies against the war, which was seen by many to be more to do with oil and power than self-defence.
The British government, led by Tony Blair, did not listen, however, and the war happened with the loss of hundreds of thousands of Iraq's civilians and thousands of American and British servicemen and women.
Many experts argue that the chaos of Iraq war was the cause of the current crisis concerning Islamic State. And as the US and Britain began to set their sights on Syria and maybe Iran as possible future targets, the anti-war movement is mobilising again to prevent more devastating war in the Middle East. Whether anyone will listen to them this time is anyone's guess. This is Cora
And Holly.
reporting for Dyca TV.
I think it should be avoided because that there should be just peace.
I don't agree with it really. I believe in communication rather than fighting each other and violence or anything like that. That's what I believe in. I'm not a believer in war.
War, obviously, this disastrous thing, and I don't believe that war is a good thing. So obviously, it should be. Should happen. So if it can be avoided, then that's good.
War's obviously a horrible thing that's never a good thing, ideally, but sometimes it's necessary.
If it's war against things like oil, I think to myself, like, why don't they just share the resources?
I think that war is an unfortunate thing that happens in the world, but sometimes that it's a necessary evil.
I think that war can be avoided, and it should be avoided wherever possible.
I don't necessarily agree with war, but I feel like sometimes it can't be helped because unfortunately us humans can be stubborn. So to get a point across, I think war is necessary at times.
Well, I regard myself as anti-war, and the reason for that is that I feel like we, the public, are not really given enough information about the economic and the strategic reasons for war.
Usually wars started over a daft argument or power, and that's why as innocent people dying for this argument that these higher people have got. I don't believe in it.
Make peace, not war. That's a better statement than obviously incentive of war.
War can be avoided generally if people have the same beliefs and the same views, but unfortunately we don't live in a world where everyone thinks the same things and behaves in the same ways, and that creates conflict in itself. So I don't think that we will ever live in a world where war isn't around.
In the government, like, obviously they make different decisions sometimes, and I think war should be the last of their options.
I think that war could be avoided if people were just a little bit more tolerant of other people's views and a bit more understanding of different beliefs and opinions.
I think we need to talk more before we start fighting. Come to diplomatic solutions. I think we need to try harder to reach those kind of solutions.
The problem is that war is profitable for too many people. If you think about the arms industry,
War could be avoided. I think it's more about greed, and it's unfortunately because of them, because of politicians who are greedy and they don't have the best interests of other people besides themselves. They are the main reason of war.
Some people have power. Those people need to maybe think before they can do war.
What are the things that you think we learned from the world wars?
Well, they don't seem to have learned any, do they? In my opinion, they don't seem to have learned. They're still going to war now.
War is awful, that a lot of people who didn't deserve to die do die for something that maybe they don't believe in, or something that's no fault of their own and that they have no control over, and that's an unnecessary thing.
I think the most important things that we learned from the world wars is that we need to be respectful of other people, but that if people are under dictatorships or being repressed because of what they believe or the colour of their skin, that we need to stand up to people and do something about it.
Never to go there again. I think it's important that we recognise the fact that so many innocent people died, and unnecessarily in a way, all because of one man or a few.
What other things do you think we learned from the world wars?
Absolutely nothing at all. We're still, if you look at the First World War, which was an imperial war, we're still engaged in imperial wars. It's just that we've exported it out of Europe, so we don't notice it as much in our everyday lives, but absolutely nothing. I don't think we've learnt anything from those wars.
Interesting stuff. Now, earlier this week, Dyca was visited by pupils and teachers from Grange Crown Primary School in Seacroft.
Yes, to give Year 6 pupils a taste of life here at Dyca, they took part in exciting art and PE activities.
Let's take a look.
What school are the children from and why are they here today?
The students are from Grange Farm Primary School, Year 5 students, and they've come here today for Primary School Day. We're going to be focusing on doing some PE activities with them, activities they wouldn't necessarily do at primary school, and just basically trying to get them to enjoy different activities, looking at things like orienteering, unihoc and basketball.
And how do you feel being in such a big school? Is it a lot different from your school?
Loads.
Is it scary?
Not that much.
Are you enjoying it so far though? Would you like to show us your work? Could you tell us what it is?
It's from a Spanish artist who is in Barcelona.
How have you found it so far?
It was fun, and we had to copy these things made out of little tiles.
Is that what you've liked the most?
Well done, Grange Farm pupils. We hope to see some of you in DYCA uniforms next year.
On now to our thought of the day.
US President Abraham Lincoln once said, "I destroy my enemies when I make them my friends."
Lincoln's words can apply to us as individuals as well as to countries.
If we seek to understand others and reach out to them in peace, they will not be enemies.
So on behalf of everyone here at DYCA TV, we would like to wish you a peaceful break and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.